You're listening to Glove Up or Shut Up on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
You're listening to Glove Up or Shut Up on AngryMarks.com with Peter H. and Stevie J. Find them on Twitter at HardcoreCDN and at AngryMarks. And now, for all the news, reviews, and interviews in mixed martial arts, it's time for Glove Up or Shut Up from AngryMarks.com.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Glove Up or Shut Up right here at AngryMarks.com. My name is Peter H. I'm joined once again by my co-host from Omaha, Nebraska, Stevie J.
Well, we had a busy weekend. We had Bellator 195. We had another UFC card. And now we get a little lull. We get a nice little break from both Bellator and UFC, at least for 1 week.
Yeah, we're going to have a nice little vacation. Maybe I'll go to Fort Lauderdale. I don't know, maybe somewhere warm.
Fort Lickerdale. Go there and get your party on.
We're going to talk some news. We're definitely going to talk some UFC 222, but Stevie, we have to mention Bellator to start with the main event, bantamweight title defense with Darrion Caldwell against Leonardo Higo at Bellator 195.
You know, I have to be very blunt about this. The preliminary card was freaking outstanding. They only had one fight go the distance, and one fight didn't air. So, outstanding fun fights on the preliminary card. When the main card started, it was like decision. I was dreading it going into the main event. I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be 5 rounds too. It's gonna be one of those nights. And then Darrion Caldwell caught Leandro Higo in a guillotine choke and finished him. I was so happy. I was like, thank you, Darrion. The wolf. He does it. He saves my night.
Well, he cracked him. He cracked Higo, and then that led into the guillotine. But the speed that Caldwell set up the choke,
I know. That was
stunning.
Lightning fast. And you hear people say that sometimes. A submission can be just as vicious as a knockout. This one was. Absolutely. He was on it like lightning.
So, for those who missed it, it's sort of like Higo, he took a punch, kind of crumpled a little bit, and Caldwell put him in a standing guillotine. But as he's submitting him, he's pushing his knees into his face as he's kind of crumpled up against the cage. The guy's getting choked from the front and getting pushed into the cage with the knees, and it's
that was
quite
beautiful.
the visual.
That was an outstanding technique because it leveraged the pressure and made that choke even tighter.
And you know what's bad when, Caldwell's celebrating the victory and there's 5, 6 people surrounding Higo trying to,
get out the
help
smelling
him?
salts, wake him up, come on, get him back to his feet.
And then Caldwell, after he's celebrating, walks over, checks on him, he's okay, and Higo, I think he might have said something like, what day is it? What's going on?
Oh, we had a what day is it, what's going on in the UFC card. We have to go into that. Oh my God.
So Caldwell wins via guillotine at 2:36 of the first round. And Stevie, we've talked about this in the past, how hard it is to win via choke in the first round.
Actually, I don't know if it's the hardest. I think if you're going to get somebody caught in a choke, you actually want to do it in the first round because that's when there's no sweat, there's no blood, nobody's getting slippery. You can't just slide out of a choke. If you can get that on while somebody's dry, you can hold it there and they can't slip away.
But I think that the problem is the reason we don't see it as much is because it's the first round. You don't expect a guillotine in the first 3 minutes of a fight.
Well, that just depends on how good the person is that's applying it. You know what? If you got that kind of skill that you can get it on there, great. Otherwise, you're forced to fight standing or go for takedowns and try to work your way into a ground and pound. You don't often get that combination like you said, but some people have that skill and that will.
Well, definitely Caldwell had that skill.
And he had a good call out afterward, too. He was like, you know what? I'm taking out all you pit bulls. Line them up. I'm taking them down one by one.
Yeah, I did text you during the fight. how many pit bulls are in Bellator? And you go, I think there's 3.
And the funny part was that Higo was a pit bull before he came to the Pitbull Brothers. He was already a pit bull.
We just have a Camp Pitbull.
That's why they're called the Pitbull Brothers, because they're both pit bull, and they have
No,
another
they should open
pit
a
bull.
camp. They should open a camp fighting a team Pitbull.
They already have the Pitbull Brothers dojo. Why do they need a camp on top of that?
Might as well get some more. It's like team Pitbull against Team Cowboy.
Basically, what I think you're proposing here is it's like American Top Team, where everywhere you go, there's a top team. There's like Brazilian top team, Philippine top team. That's what you want. You want a franchise.
Yeah. Canadian Pitbull, American Pitbull, British Pitbull.
Yeah, I think we have the American Pitbull. He's named Pitbull, and he raps, and he's out of Miami.
Oh, geez, but out of Florida?
No, he's not a Pitbull.
All right, let's move on to Joe Warren and Joe Tamanglo.
No, Timenglo.
Tamanglo, sorry. Stevie, I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much, but Warren looked a little different after this fight.
This was not the most stellar Joe Warren performance. I don't know, because Timenglo seemed to be not just faster than him, but the better wrestler. And that was the part that really stunned me, because normally the one thing Joe Warren always has in his back pocket is he can take anybody down at will, and you can't take him down. He's like the master of that. The only guys that are better at takedowns than him are probably Darian Caldwell and maybe Ben Askren. But in this case, it seemed like Joe was able to stymie anything Warren wanted to do, and when he wanted to take it to the ground, he actually got it. So I'm just a little stunned that one judge actually gave 2 rounds to Joe Warren. I don't know how.
30-27, 30-27, and 28-29 for, Tamego. It was, I predicted this on the show last week because I thought Warren's wrestling would be overcome, and I was right. And when I was watching it, it was, I'm not saying I was cheering for Warren, but it was more like, come on, Warren, like, do something. No, don't do that. Don't. Oh, geez. Okay.
What actually made the difference, as far as I'm concerned, is that Joe Timenglo found a way to negate the height and reach advantage, because Warren, with his size comparatively, should have had a much easier time, but Timenglo used speed. He basically used the Eduardo Dantas strategy of, I'll get in and get out before you can touch me, and he was hurting Joe Warren, and that's what set up his ability to dominate Joe Warren in the fight, was that he was consistently hurting him with shots.
And his face at the end of the fight, though, oof, he was on a war.
Oh, Ducote's face looked a lot worse after Christina Williams. Woo, boy.
Let's just talk about that fight then. Christina Williams beating Emily Ducote 29-28, 29-28, and 27-30.
Okay, that's another one that doesn't make any sense. The only thing I can figure out, trying to decipher what that judge saw, is he thought Emily Ducote was the fighter moving forward, so she was winning on aggression. But that's not the top criteria for scoring. Effective striking, finishing sequences, heavy blows, takedowns, and then somewhere below all those other things would be controlling the cage or the octagon. That's like the last factor you score on. Striking has got to be up at the top, and that's got to be down near the bottom. So you can't say Ducote won the rounds just because she was coming forward, because every time she came forward, she got slapped in the face with a hand or a foot.
It was disturbing is not the right word, but it was
vicious. Christina Williams has a height and reach advantage, and she was, unlike Joe Warren, she was actually using it. She was making Ducote black and blue.
No, there's nothing more to be said about that. You nailed it on the head on that one. Black and blue is pretty much the same thing I was going to say. The other fight on the main card had a score, Stevie, that I've never seen, or if I have, I don't remember it. 30-23.
Yes, 30-26, 30-24, and 30-23 for Juan the Spaniard Archuleta.
How do you get a 23?
Okay, well, you have to consider the fact the guy he was fighting was 17-14, so he's just barely over the Mendoza line, whereas Juan Archuleta was like 18-1 and had knocked out 8 or 9 people, and the only fight he lost, and this is ironic to me, was in World Series of Fighting. And I covered that show. The one fight that Juan Archuleta ever lost was another show that I saw him on. So apparently this time he was like, I ain't going out like that on TV twice. Not against a guy with a 17-14 record, and he just bombed on this guy for 3 straight rounds.
But judges rarely give out a 10-8, and we get a 10-7.
Okay, this is the thing. William Joplin was a veteran fighter. Now, he doesn't have a great record, but think about the fact that with a 17-14 record, he had like 12, 13 more fights than his opponent. So the thing with Joplin is he's not going to win a fight, but you're not going to finish him either. He's just one of those old, tough as leather fighters who will take a beating and take a beating and take a beating and keep on taking it, but you won't finish him. So you got these huge lopsided rounds where Archuleta was pounding on him, but he couldn't put him away.
I mean, it was a great victory. I'm just shocked that it was such a dominant performance that I've said this on the show before, but, I pity the guy who fights him next.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of debut he wanted to have, especially in a featherweight division as stacked as Bellator. You need to make a statement when you debut in that division.
Now, you mentioned the prelims here. Are there any prelims in particular you want to mention before we move to UFC 222?
Speaking of making a statement, Aaron Webb, his knockout of Thomas Lopez, that was one for the highlight reel. I'm pretty sure Bellator put out a tweet of it because it was that damn good. So go read the Bellator MMA Twitter feed and you'll see it. I would also say Kevin Holland had a pretty sweet triangle choke on Tegan Dooley. That one is worth going back to see as well. And there's more than one Fernando Gonzalez in Bellator, and he got an Armando Servin for an opponent that he armbarred in about 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So you talked about how it seems like it's rare to get a submission in the first round, but I respond again with, well, if you catch a guy while he's dry and he can't slip out and you've got really good technique, you can finish that shit, and he sure did.
Now, before we move on to UFC 222, we should mention the 2 big news stories out of Bellator. Yes. They do have a new signing.
John Fitch, former number 1 contender in the UFC welterweight division and former World Series of Fighting champion.
But he's fighting, a B-level fighter in his first fight, right, Stevie?
No, Paul Semtex Daly.
So we're gonna throw you from the fire into the oven, into the frying pan. It's.
Well, they did the exact same thing when they signed Lorenz Larkin. His first fight was Douglas Lima. You don't get easy fights coming in when you're a big, high-profile star. They're gonna give you somebody at your level.
Now, that wasn't the only signing Bellator made this past week, and they've already booked this guy's first fight as well.
That's right, but I'll let you give that announcement.
Mirko Krokop is going to be...
Jesus Christ, how could you botch that name?
It's late here, folks. I'm tired.
Mirko Krokop, Mirko Filipovic. Either way, Krokop, man, Krokop, Mirko Krokop.
I botched that worse than Ronda doing if I can move on Raw this past Monday.
Left kick cemetery, right kick hospital.
Yeah, pretty much. He's fighting Roy Nelson.
Yeah, well, they needed something for Roy Nelson to do after he got knocked out of the Grand Prix, so there it is.
And the show's in jelly old England.
Yep, Bellator 200. The main event is Rafael Cavallo defending his middleweight title against Gegard Mousasi.
That's a hell of a fight. That is, damn, that's
It's a
pretty
hell
good.
of a card. They're stacking it up.
Yeah, we got Mir and Fedor coming up. We're gonna have Bader and King Mo coming up. We have that fight. We've got Nelson.
But I'm just talking strictly about Bellator 200, though. They've got Michael Venom Page versus David the Caveman Rickles, Phil Davis versus Linton Vassell, and the two fights we already mentioned. They are making a hell of a card for London.
No, it's going to be a great card, and I wonder if they would sell out. I'm pretty sure they would, but yeah, I think they would sell out. I'm wondering if it's going to be at a O2 Arena or if
No, it's at the SSE in Wembley.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was one of those arenas where, UFC and Bellator share the venue. It's not exclusive, so.
Nope, it's SSE Arena.
Alright, well, let's move on to UFC 222 and
Okay,
Cyborg.
can we just get the one fight out of the way that I absolutely have to talk about first? Do you mind if we jump right to it?
Go ahead.
Okay. We had C.B. Dalloway and Hector Lombard in the opening preliminary bout on Fox Sports 1. 1 second after the end of the first round, when the referee had already stepped between them to signal the stop because the horn had sounded, Hector Lombard threw the cheapest of cheap shots I have ever seen, caught C.B. Dalloway flush, knocked him cold. They went to commercial, and we're all like, what? Why would you go to commercial right after that? This guy's about to get disqualified. What the hell? And they come back from commercial, and Dalloway is asking people, what happened? Where am I? He's on Dream Street. He doesn't know what the hell just happened to him. They have immediately stopped the fight and gone to replay, and when you go to replay, the fight's over. That's the rule. And they look at the replay and they can clearly see that he threw it after the horn sounded. So your winner by disqualification, who still doesn't even know that he won that fight, is C.B. Dalloway.
I picked Dalloway to win this fight, but not like this.
No. It was one of the grossest late punches I've ever seen. It was like the Holly Holm fight from...
Oh, yes. Good call, yeah.
Yeah, it was that blatant.
Obscene's probably too strong a word, but yeah, it was disturbing, is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he didn't hear him, and then, he's going to appeal, apparently, you're not going to win the appeal.
No, there's condemning visual evidence of what you did. You can't. There's nothing to overturn there.
All right. Well, that was I'm not going to say a highlight of the prelims, but
memorable.
If you want to watch, memorable. If you want a highlight of a prelim fight, I would go with
Zakato and Mike Pyle. Yeah, I knew that's where you were going.
Or maybe Alexander Hernandez and Beneil Dariush.
The Mike Pyle one I would go with because of the fact that it was Pyle's last fight. And,
yeah,
man, I felt bad because you could tell it was eating him up. He was very emotional when they were trying to interview him after that fight.
It hurts. It hurts to go out like that, but he got knocked out.
Like they said on commentary, he's got a little 2-year-old kid at home, so that's more time Dad gets to spend with his kids watching them grow up. So best to Mike Pyle and the rest of his life going forward.
Absolutely. I mentioned Hernandez and Dariush because Dariush got knocked out in 42 seconds.
Oh, yeah, and this was Hernandez's debut fight, and he was a heavy underdog because he came in on 8 days' notice. Talk about making a statement. Didn't I just say that earlier with the Bellator card? You want to make a statement, you come in as an underdog on 8 days' notice and knock somebody out in 42 seconds. Wow.
Yeah, and Dariush isn't exactly a scrub.
No, not in any respect. And Alexander had a great promo, and he finished it with a classic Notorious Big line. If you don't know, now you know.
I almost wouldn't do the mic drop and have John Anik catch it again or something.
That pretty much was a mic drop promo. I mean, You know, he came in with the nickname Alexander the Great. I was like, okay, that's a little bit much for a guy who's brand new. And after he hit that walk-off knockout, I was like, nope, he's Alexander the Great. He's everything they said he was. That name suits him. That was great.
Now, as far as the main card goes...
Oh, wait. We're not going to talk about Mackenzie Dern?
I knew you wanted to go on there, because I had Dern winning. I don't know about you, but I had her winning 2-1. It's one of those fights, folks, that if you watch 10 times, you might go 5-5.
The only round I 100% gave Dern was the third, because she got Yoder to the ground and several times came close to finishing her with a submission. But the other 2 rounds were up for grabs. I'd probably give Dern one of those 2, but it was close. This was a split decision that didn't actually surprise me, because you could have given a 29-28 either way.
I'm not sure if you want to see these fighters fight again, but you could always do a rematch. You could.
No, they've got bigger plans for Mackenzie Dern. They're going to try to make her a strawweight star, because she's got the look. She comes from a really dynamite family of BJJ experts, like some of the best ever. So they want to see her rise up the ranks and be a star of the strawweights.
That's a cool t-shirt. The star of the strawweights.
I just gave her a moniker, and I wasn't even trying to.
There you go. Let's move on to the main card, and let's start at the top here. As you said last week, Chris Cyborg against an Invicta fighter who has no business fighting at 145.
That's absolutely what we got here. She got finished, and finished fast. 3 minutes, 25 seconds. Kunitskaya was no match for the size and power of Cyborg.
Like, do we have anyone at 145 that could fight Cyborg?
Yeah, I believe the current Invicta featherweight champion has called her out.
And we won't see that fight, will we?
No, that's not the next fight they've got booked.
No, because Cyborg and Nunez... Hell, if Cyborg leaves UFC, I know she wants to go to WWE and fight Ronda Rousey, so who knows?
Yeah, this makes no sense to me. You're going to have a super fight between Amanda Nunez and Cyborg when you have Megan Anderson, who is legitimately the size of Cyborg, just sit on the sidelines doing nothing.
Do you think they would put Anderson and Cyborg down the road? Like, in the realm of possibility, do you see that actually happening?
I hope so, because, I mean, basically, if you look at the pedigree, she's already beaten Kunitskaya, who they just put in there with Cyborg, so why not?
I mean, stranger things have happened. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as stranger things that have happened, Ortega and Edgar.
Yeah. Wow.
Minute 44. 4:44 the first round, my mistake.
Out of all the wars that Frankie Edgar has been in, and I mean some slobber knocker fights, including some fights with BJ Penn that are among my favorite fights of all time, the guy who finished him is Brian Ortega. I did not see that. I could have seen Brian Ortega taking him down and submitting him. I did not see Brian Ortega finishing him with strikes. Holy fucking shit.
I don't think Edgar saw this punch coming either.
I'm guessing not, especially with 16 seconds left to go in the round. And I think he was winning the round up to that point before he got caught.
Yeah, but you never go into a round in... He's not even 10-second warning. You go into you can feel, you know you're in 3, maybe 4 minutes into the round. You know that horn's going to happen in a minute or so. He's probably either thinking, okay, if I do this another minute, I have to, I can rest for a couple seconds. I'm trying to think maybe I can do it in round 2 to get back in this boom. Done. And it's like...
I can't see Edgar as letting his guard down to that degree. He is too seasoned of a fighter to be mentally lapsing like that and just thinking, I can ride this out for a minute. I'm not saying writing it out, but I'm saying something happened. He should have been
concerned. You should have had some foresight into thinking maybe I should have guarded the punch here. Maybe it just looked like for a half a second, his mind wasn't there, and that's all it took.
I just think in all of the 1,000 ways this fight played out in his head, the one that never occurred to him was Brian Ortega will hit me with a punch so hard I'll go out. That's all I can say, is because I didn't see that, he didn't see that. I don't think anybody saw that.
No, I mean, it would have been different if it was maybe a liver kick. That one we might have been more rare than a unicorn, but it's definitely it's a career-making fight for Ortega. He beat Frankie Edgar. He's the first guy to stop him.
And he gets the fight with Max Holloway. Dana White already called him and made the fight.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Brian Ortega, you are the man. Congratulations.
Thanks, Maury. All right, so let's move on to O'Malley and Sukumath. What happened here?
That's a good question.
What happened here?
Sean O'Malley won the fight. That's what happened.
He won the fight, and he left the cage in a stretcher. He did the post-fight interview lying down on the mat.
Yeah, I think he got, I believe his leg got, remember what happened to, back at Bellator NYC? Remember what happened to Michael Chandler
yeah.
He had a pinched nerve in his leg from one of the kicks, and he couldn't stand on it, but it turned out his leg was going to be fine later on. I have a feeling Sean O'Malley may have had a similar type of injury here where I don't know if he actually has anything broken, but he definitely couldn't stand.
No, and he didn't look like a winner. He did win the fight 29-28, 29-27, and 29-27 for unanimous win, but it just showed the fortitude of both fighters. They basically threw everything in this cage.
Yeah,
it was a great fight.
I don't think O'Malley was going to feel whatever was wrong with his foot until the moment that fight was over, and once that adrenaline dumped, it was like, oh, fuck, this hurts.
It's like John Jones with his toe.
Yeah, with his toe pointing the wrong direction. Oh, that's what there's two things that I don't ever need to see again. That shot of John Jones' toe and that slow motion replay of Anderson Silva checking the leg kick from Chris Weidman.
Yeah, that was like a limp pasta noodle. Yeah. Let's quickly move on. Andrei Arlovsky beat Stefan Struve via unanimous decision. I said it on this show.
Yeah, we were pretty much convinced that Struve was too much of hype and not much of substance, because he's always been big, but he's never used his size well.
No, and people were surprised when Arlovsky took him down. I'm like, not me.
No,
I was thinking that at all.
At this point, why would anybody be afraid of taking Stefan Struve down? Why?
Now, just a cheap plug here. You should check out MMAdraws.com. Check out the predictions panel. Both myself and Stevie are on there.
Tied at 12-8.
No, I'm actually 13-7 going into the fights, and I think I'm going to be continuing leading the pack after this show. And it's fights like this with Arlovsky. A lot of people, I think it was 50-50 actually that went for Arlovsky and Struve, but
I think you and I both had Arlovsky though.
Oh yeah, we did. It was surprising when I'm reviewing the show and going over my picks, and it's like Dalloway check, Arlovsky check. Wait a minute, seriously? All I got is Cyborg and Ortega. Okay, I'll admit I picked Edgar, but I was like, I didn't expect to go this high in this card, but I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we got to talk about Vieira and Zingano. As I believe Paul Fontaine himself said, maybe this wasn't the fight to lead off the pay-per-view with.
Yeah.
If it wasn't him, it was Adam Martin. One of the two.
It was... I mean, the score does say split decision, 2-1 for Vieira, but I don't know. I would have bumped up another fight from the prelims, to be honest, but that's just me.
Goddamn shame that Alexander Hernandez wasn't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that would have been something. It's just, Zingano's a good fighter, Vieira's a good fighter, but sometimes you get fights like this where it's...
They just neutralized each other.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it, neutralized. It's true, and it gets to the point where it's like, you're not... Okay, I didn't find myself yelling at the TV to, like, do something, but I was like, you guys are better than this. Let's go. Let's... Like, I thought maybe they were just feeling each other out first a little bit, then someone's going to make one minor mistake, and that's all it will take. No, they just did that and this, and there's the horn.
Yeah.
All right, we're on with this. Here we go.
It's a fight. That's all you can say about it.
I'm going to pause this and make a sandwich. I'll be right back. Like, nah.
Yeah, get some popcorn, get some chips, get another Molson.
Yeah, pretty much. But Vieira wins 29-28, 2 rounds to 1 on 2 of the 3 cards. I don't know how much of her stock improves on this, but Zingano, I think she's going to be pissed off after this fight, to be honest.
You know what? If I was Kat Zingano, I think I'd be pissed in general because that's her 3rd straight loss.
Yeah.
I realize she had a long gap off for injury, but still.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the news. We've got Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. The fight might happen, even though Nunes might be she was supposed to fight Pennington next, I believe.
Yeah, Raquel Pennington's got to be pretty pissed about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pennington Nunes, I would love to see that one, but there's someone calling out Cyborg, which, Megan Anderson, I hope we get that fight. I don't know. It
seriously needs to happen. There's nobody else left that should face Cyborg.
I don't want to say who gets this fight, because either one, I'll be happy with either one, to be honest, because they'll both be entertaining. There's no bad fight there.
I guess not, but they just keep raising up bantamweights to face Cyborg, and it's just a reminder of the lack of depth in that division.
I know your reaction to this next story, Steve. I just wrote it down just to get a laugh out of you, but Arlovsky was asked about how many wins he has in UFC. He's like, it's okay, I've got another 18 years. No, God, no. We don't need to see you another 5 years, Arlovsky. This is your twilight right now.
You know what we might be seeing for another 18 years?
John Jones?
No. Rampage and Silva.
Oh, God.
Coming to a venue in Curitiba.
Where?
Curitiba, Brazil, where Silva is from.
Oh, boy. That doesn't make me feel... Well, I mean, there's a hero's welcome, and then there's a hero's welcome. If he wins that fight, the place is going to erupt.
Yeah, that's probably why they want to do it.
And if he loses?
Then Rampage better be on the first plane out of town.
Yeah, I don't know. We've seen this fight 3 times already, though, Stevie. Come on.
Well, there's a reason to do it. I mean, it's not like Rampage won until the 3rd fight, so he's still 1-2. He'd probably like to even up the score.
Yeah, but what are you going to do if it ties up the series? You're going to have a 5th fight?
That's why I said we may just keep seeing that fight forever and ever. I mean, seriously, what are you going to do with either guy at this point? Rampage is far removed from his UFC championship days. Wanderlei Silva is far removed from his Pride championship days.
Yeah, it's true.
This is the point we're at with both guys in their respective careers. It's like Legends Division. It's what they're doing now.
Don't start that again. We don't have one. Stop.
Yeah, but this is the equivalent of.
Yeah. So we've got Khabib Nurmagomedov against Tony Ferguson, UFC 223.
Yes, and quote Dana White, unquote, if Conor throws one punch at anybody, I'm stripping the title.
Can he hop the cage, please? Please, 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 please?
Probably not. Burger King might cancel their ad contract with him.
Yeah, probably. Shevchenko wants to fight Nico Montano at UFC 225 in Chicago. Why is Chicago important for UFC, Stevie?
Well, that's one of their premier markets.
And it was announced actually just to make a wrestling tie-in. Yes, CM Punk is rumored to be on this card. I don't think it's official yet. But also, do you have some news on that, or?
I continue hearing that there's a certain reporter who might be facing him, whose only other opponent was Mickey Gall.
Oh, yes. We talked about this last week. The reason I bring up Chicago, just to throw in some more wrestling tie-ins, is that has been selected for the All-In show.
That's right, September 1st.
So if you're in the area, go to that show. I'm sure tickets will sell out quickly, but...
Hey, if you're in the area, go to Fedor and Mir on April 28th.
Oh, yeah, that would be a great fight.
Same venue that I saw WrestleMania at.
Yeah, lucky bugger. Let's see, is there anything else on my news? I'm trying to recall if, before I forget, April 3rd, there's a great documentary about Mask. Go check it out. For those who don't know the story of Mask, the tap out, not owner, but, creator. I guess you could say he was their figurehead. He was the man. And I think his name is still on the UFC cage, I believe, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Thomas Mass Lewis?
Yeah. It's on the top rail.
Yeah, top rail. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, it's still there. He's a big part of the UFC when it became more mainstream, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So April 3rd, go check it out. And I do want to mention...
Did you say Thomas Lewis? His name is Charles Lewis.
Charles Lewis. Why am I thinking Thomas? Oh, I must be thinking somebody else. Charles Lewis, my mistake. There was something else I was going to mention when it comes to UFC. Usually by this time we hear Memorial Day or Vegas as far as fights as the big shows, but we're in March now, and do you know any really super must-see fights in the UFC's plans? I mean, or is it just quiet, or is it just sitting on something big right now?
Ferguson Habib on April 7th is about the biggest one I can think of.
Yeah, but Memorial Day in the States, Victoria Day here in Canada, it's usually a big show, months in advance.
They've not got anything on UFC 224 or 225, and it's not a whole lot announced between those, so I'm going to say no. I think they are still looking for fights for those weekends. I don't see anything.
It feels weird. I feel like they're sitting on something. It's just, maybe my spider sense is tingling. I don't know. I just feel like something major's going to happen the next month or so.
I'm looking at the fight cards, and I don't see anything that weekend. I see nada.
All right. Well, Stevie, what's on tap for Thursday night AMP?
Fastlane on Sunday.
And do you expect this to be a paint-by-numbers pay-per-view like Elimination Chamber was?
Absolutely.
Yeah, doesn't make a rocket science to figure that one out.
Nope.
And then the next one, of course, is the big granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of talk between now and then on Thursday night AMP.
Coincidentally, that'll be the day after the Ferguson-Habib fight.
There you go. Hell of a weekend there. Mm-hmm. So for Stevie J, I'm Peter H., the Hardcore Canadian. Thanks for listening, and as I always say, never leave it to the judges. Good night, everybody.
See ya.